Hello, and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the USR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog, Discord server, Mimi group, Facebook group, Twittering, and wherever else. So, veil and farewell. Steve Perrin has passed on. He was, I guess, 75. It is striking how many we've lost in the old school gaming community. And it's weird because I really didn't even think about it when we lost Gary. I mean, we lost Gary, and I was actually, I think it was a month and a half, 2 months after my son's mother passing. So it didn't really strike. It struck me, but it was more of the idea of okay, so it is somebody else passing, and now we are reaching the stage, and it makes sense that the luminaries, the individuals that founded old school gaming, founded RPGs, right? They're the ones that came along and created this stuff. Gary, Dave, Steve Perrin. I mean, I got so much enjoyment out of RuneQuest. I mean, and my history with RuneQuest is a little backwards because I found RuneQuest with the Avalon Hill third edition of RuneQuest. And I found it interesting and it didn't speak to me. And I thought the production qualities were kind of shitty because, man, those rule books just wanted to fall apart. And I went to a convention at Columbia University, probably back in '86. And in the dealer room, there was a shelf worn that wasn't used, but it was a copy of RuneQuest, I believe the second edition, red hardcover book, red book with the dust cover. Dust cover was a bit torn up, and then Pavis and Big Rubble, which was still in their wrap, but the boxes were partially crushed, and they had a little water damage. And I think I got all three for $20. I think I had to borrow and beg money from two friends that I went through. It's like, oh, I'll pay you back because I this was, you know, important. It was RuneQuest, and it was RuneQuest the way RuneQuest was meant to be, and I got to see what Steve intended us to see when it came to RuneQuest and setting, not what Avalon Hill under license is reinterpreted as. I'm not saying the Avalon Hill version is bad, but it didn't speak to me. This spoke to me, and I ran RuneQuest 2, Pavis, Big Rubble. I don't know, 2 summers in a row. Got a lot of enjoyment out of that. Really ran it like a sandbox, and we didn't call it a sandbox back then, but it was an extended sandbox. It was a joy to run. And back then, honestly, you didn't. It's not like now. I don't want to call it cult of personalities, but now because of the internet, you get to read and get to know about people that create these games, and they aren't just well. I know about Gary Gygax because he writes articles in Dragon magazine. Oh, he's no longer writing articles in Dragon magazine. I don't know anything what's going on with him. You know, you don't have the internet has broken down these walls. It's made gaming more intimate, and it's made people like Steve. Um, hey, like Ken San Andre when he got into his car accident, it made them people that are no longer held at arm's distance. They are people that are in some ways part of your life because you got to not just know the work they did, but you got to hear their voice now. And that's something that we didn't have in the 80s, you know, or the late 70s when I came into gaming. You got what you wanted to keep up with gaming. You bought Dragon magazine, You bought Different Worlds, you bought Space Gamer, Fantasy Gamer, White Wolf, you bought the magazines, and that's all you got. Now you have social media. If you want to ask our generation, right? James Bond, Greg Gillespie, uh, Matt Finch, a question about how to do something, one of the games that they wrote, one of the materials that they put out, you can ask them, right? You don't have to wait for a convention. You don't have to put pen to paper and write a letter in dead tree and send it to a publisher and hope that in 4 months you get something back. You can reach out, and I advise that you do so. Whether the creators, because we've lost young creators, all right, we've lost people that are very influential in the gaming community, not because of, I don't know, videos or blogs or whatever, but for material that they've created that people play. And we've lost them too early. And as such, the questions that haven't been asked, the communications that haven't been attempted, can never be attempted, right? Well, once they've passed on, once we've lost them, they're gone. You can still read their works, you can still read their articles and learn about them, but you can't communicate with them. And that's something that I think is overlooked by many in this age of gaming, is that you can actually reach out to the creators and say, hey, listen, I love the shit you put out. I have a question. Can I ask you a question about it? You don't have to wait weeks or months to possibly maybe get an answer. You can just reach out. And the vast majority are happy to answer you and happy to communicate with you and happy to just be a little bit part of your life. RuneQuest was a huge part of my formative years as a gamer. If there are three fantasy RPGs, because really what we mostly played was fantasy, that I felt comfortable enough that I could run stuff off the cuff. Obviously, it was AD&D, which I was introduced to. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1E, because that was probably the first game that wasn't D&D that I felt comfortable enough running. And then RuneQuest 2. I mean, just fucking simply amazing stuff. Amazing. Classic work. Classic setting. And yes, you could see that it was heavily influenced by its predecessor, Dungeons and Dragons. But you could also see where it took it to a different direction. And I think we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Steve and others like him. And yes, communicate. Yes. Tell them when you can. Now, I appreciate what you've done. You impacted my life. Because once they're gone, you can't, you know, I hate to say it like that. So there's a game creator that you appreciate the work of, thank him. You can do it. This is for all the faults of social media. That's one of the great things about social media. You can kind of immediately say, hey, thank you. Thank you for the work that you did, for the creative imagery and potential that you showed me. Thank you. I never got to meet Steve. I wish I had, because he had a great influence on my gaming career and how I not became as a gamer, but I became as a person, right? Gaming is, especially when you start playing RPGs in your formative years, preteen and teen, it has a great effect on who you become as an adult. And I never got to meet Gary. And now I've never gotten to meet Steve. Um, it's a shame. It's a real shame. Won't be our last loss, sadly. And the generation that created these games that we are so in touch with, so happy to enjoy and play and read and share, they're getting of that age. You know, even if they aren't of that age, even if the creator isn't getting to uh, I don't know what we call that generation now, the older years. We've seen recently mishaps, illnesses, cancer can take people from us way earlier than we had ever expected, ever planned. If you enjoy somebody's work, if you enjoy their creations, let them know. Put a smile on their face. Put a smile on your face. Seriously. Folks, on that note, we are, I don't know, 32, 33 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. When we hit 1,000, I throw $500 into the drive-through RPG, right? Drive-through RPG, yeah. Uh, gift pool, right? We're going to give away $500 in drive-through RPG gift certificates. So come on. If you're a viewer and you come back to this channel frequently and you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Honestly. If you like what you're listening to and you're watching, give it a thumbs up. Comment if you have questions or an opinion that you want to be heard. If you are looking to leave a voicemail, I know I have an unlistened to voicemail that came in this morning. I have to listen to it. I've been running around all day. It's a Sunday. The voicemail is 347-509-5168. 347-509-5168. Again, I thank you all for listening. We are in the midst of the world of COVID. It's throwing curveballs. Take actions. Take precautions that keep yourself, your friends, your family, your loved ones healthy and safe. I'm not telling you what to do. Use your common sense. Be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice. And I should be back again tomorrow. Sounds like fun, right? Hopefully with better news. Or something better to talk about than losing another person in this community. All right, folks. On that note, laters.